What happened when you broke your parents' rules? My parents had one rule that they treated like the 11th commandment, which was absolutely no dating until after high school graduation. They would lecture me constantly about how teenage relationships were just distractions from academics, and how every girl who dated in high school ended up ruining her future. They even made me sign an actual contract on my 14th birthday promising I wouldn't date until I was 18. My dad laminated it and hung it on the refrigerator like some kind of warning poster. I spent every single school dance sitting at home watching Netflix while my friends sent me videos of them slow dancing with their boyfriends. When people asked why I never went to anything social, I had to make up excuses about being too busy with violin practice that didn't exist. My mom would actually drive by the movie theater on Friday nights to make sure she didn't see me there with anyone. Their paranoia was so intense that when a boy from chemistry class asked to borrow my notes, my dad interrogated me for an hour about whether we were secretly meeting up. Every male contact in my phone had to be labeled with their full name and how I knew them, so my parents could verify they were just classmates. Then I met Zeke during junior year at my volunteer job at the animal shelter, where my parents encouraged me to work because it would look good on college applications. He was a senior from a different school who came in every Saturday to help with the dogs. Since my parents didn't know him and we worked in different sections of the shelter, we could actually talk without anyone reporting back to them. After 3 months of sneaking conversations between walking dogs and cleaning kennels, he asked if I wanted to study together at the library. That turned into secret coffee runs during my supposed tutoring sessions, and eventually actual dates at restaurants across town where my parents would never go. We kept everything completely hidden using a messaging app that looked like a calculator on my phone. I became an expert at living this double life where I was the perfect rule-following daughter at home and actually experiencing normal teenage life when they thought I was at debate practice or studying with a friend. But then one Thursday night, my appendix decided to basically explode inside my body. The pain hit during dinner, and within minutes I was curled up on the bathroom floor feeling like someone was stabbing me with a hot knife. I could barely breathe enough to tell my parents something was seriously wrong with my stomach. My mom took one look at me and immediately decided I was being dramatic about period cramps, because that's what she always assumed whenever I felt sick. My dad agreed and said I just needed to take some ibuprofen and sleep it off. When I started throwing up and couldn't even stand up straight, they accused me of trying to get out of my calculus test the next morning. They actually sent me to bed and told me to stop being so theatrical about normal teenage girl problems. By midnight, the pain was so bad I was seeing spots and could barely stay conscious, but my parents had gone to bed and turned off their phones like they always did. I managed to crawl to my phone and text Zeke that something was really wrong and I thought I might be dying, which sounds dramatic but genuinely felt true in that moment. He didn't even hesitate before saying he was coming to get me whether my parents liked it or not. 20 minutes later, he was throwing rocks at my window and helping me climb down the trellis in my pajamas, while I tried not to scream from the pain. He carried me to his car when I couldn't walk anymore and drove 90 miles an hour to the emergency room while I sobbed in the passenger seat. The doctors rushed me into surgery immediately because my appendix had actually ruptured and I was going into septic shock, which could have killed me if Zeke had waited even another hour. When I woke up from surgery, my parents were standing next to my hospital bed looking completely destroyed. Zeke was still there in the waiting room even though it was 6 in the morning and he'd been up all night. The surgeon told my parents that Zeke had saved my life by getting me to the hospital when he did, and that their son was a hero for recognizing how serious the situation was. My mom started crying and hugged Zeke while my dad shook his hand and kept apologizing for not believing me about the pain. On the drive home from the hospital 3 days later, my parents were completely silent until my dad finally cleared his throat and said they needed to apologize for everything. My mom admitted they'd been too strict and that clearly I'd shown good judgment in choosing someone like Zeke who cared enough to risk getting in trouble to save my life. They said I could date him officially and even have him over for dinner to thank him properly. I was so relieved I started crying until my mom turned around in her seat with this huge smile and said the words that changed everything. "We've decided you two are so perfect for each other that you should get married. We already put down the deposit on the venue. The wedding is next month." Full story on the channel below.